every so often I get an itch that I desperately need to scratch, and yes, this itch is indeed to do with my balls. My monkey balls, that is. And
super.
A brand new Super Monkey Ball game, subtitled Banana Rumble, has arrived on the Switch, and I am very, very happy with it. For those of you who've never seen Super Monkey Ball, it's a video game franchise by Sega, where you play as a monkey in a ball, and you need to roll them across increasingly complex levels, avoiding obstacles, collecting bananas, reaching the goal. That's it, right?
That's your monkeys.
That's your monkeys. That's your monkeys. And also, if you haven't listened to me talk about Monkey Ball before, the original Super Monkey Ball on the GameCube was an absolute obsession of mine when I was about, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, something like that.
I remember.
Before the time of, before the time of online leaderboards and widespread competitive video gaming, a community of a few hundred of us gathered on a bespoke website called Super Monkey Ball Elite, made by a wonderful Norwegian chap called Fro, and we would input our individual level scores for every level in the game, and our best scores for the various mini-games, and Fro's algorithm would then calculate an overall Super Monkey Ball leaderboard. And me and my school friend Alec got insanely competitive with each other, and so too with the other monkey ballers. And this saw us, grinding for hours on single levels just to beat them a frame quicker or gather one extra banana to increase our score and our leaderboard position. It drove us to being 10th and 11th best in the world at one point. We were 2 of the best in the UK, and I achieved the number 1 in the UK in Super Monkey Ball 2 as well. I think I was number 1 in the world at Super Monkey Ball Junior on the Game Boy Advance.
Of course.
I loved it, but I was also an absolute slave to it. I was still a good decade away from having a diagnosis of obsessive compulsive disorder that was blindingly obvious even then. Now, even though the party mini-games of Super Monkey Ball 2 were far superior, the core single-player game that I absolutely adored in Super Monkey Ball 1, the design of the levels in Super Monkey Ball 2, I just found severely inferior to the original game. They traded a lot of the tricky, finely tuned level designs for more overblown, gimmicky obstacle course style levels that left a lot more up to chance than skill. I've played most of the main Monkey Ball games since those 2 originals. Monkey Ball Junior, that I alluded to, on the Game Boy Advance, was a phenomenal technical achievement. It wasn't nice to control or play, but the level designs were basically ripped straight from the original game, so it had that going for it at least. I quite enjoyed Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll on the DS, although it did also fall into that category of games that tried to utilise the touchscreen as a digital analog stick and wasn't very comfortable to use.
Yeah.
Monkey Ball Banana Blitz on the Wii was a catastrophe because it became full gimmicky, with the inclusion of a jump button, which was just a very, very lazy way to try and make the game more exciting. And an even more misguided effort to spice the game up saw them introduce boss levels into the game, which were rancid. Absolutely rancid. Super Monkey Ball 3D came out on 3DS. It was quite enjoyable. A really nice, smooth gameplay experience. The 3DS analog stick, did a decent job, and the stereoscopic 3D was a nice little bonus. But the level designs were just really quite bland. They were very straightforward. They had little to no challenge involved at all, even for a casual gamer, let alone, a veteran like me. I never played Step and Roll, the Wii game.
Get the balance board out?
With the balance board. I never had I barely had a Wii. I never had a balance board.
Yeah.
I imagine it played like raw sewerage. It looked horrible to play and experience. I was barely even aware that there was a Vita game called Banana Splits.
Yeah, it was alright.
Much to my shame, I never played that. But yeah, I heard it was fine. But I'd long given up hope that we'd see a proper return to form for the Monkey Ball series, specifically when they remastered the Wii game, Banana Blitz, of all things, on the Switch. I was so annoyed with that. But they did make up for it a little bit with the remaster of the original 2 games a few years later. But I must say, I was not expecting the next properly original Monkey Ball game to be as flipping good as it is. And Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is by far the best Monkey Ball game since the original. Certainly from a single player point of view. I haven't touched the multiplayer stuff. I don't intend to, really. I've heard it's a bit ropey, but I don't even care. So, Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, there are 10 worlds with 10 levels in each, so that's 100 levels, and pretty much all of them are just exquisitely designed. Lots of stages really hitting that sweet spot between like the intense intricacy of the original game with the more ambitious like event stages of the later games. But I'd say it's probably like a good 90-10 split of what I would call like classic Monkey Ball level designs and the more gimmicky, sprawling ones.
Yeah.
But they are excellent. And when you've beaten all 100 levels, there are then 100 more extra levels, which are all basically harder versions of those original 100 levels, where they will put incredible twists and additional design challenges to overcome that make it feel like 100 totally new levels, not just playing the same ones again with thinner platforms or more bumpers or something. And some of the later hard levels are, I mean, seriously hard, on a par with like the master levels in the original game. There are a couple that I was like properly stuck on for a long time before I started to sort of see a bit of a path of how to beat the level, because my instinct is often just to be like, oh, okay, let's see if I can just like catch a little nick off this corner and hop over there and bounce off there and then bam, I'm in. Whereas like if you do approach the levels going, okay, how have they actually designed me to beat this? There is usually, like, even if it's just waiting for just a whole bunch of platforms just to align, even if it's for a split second, you know, it is there. There's nothing left to chance. There's nothing just that's annoyingly hard for the sake of being annoyingly hard. And I haven't mentioned the brand new mechanic that's introduced in Banana Rumble, which when I read about it, I really feared that it was going to be like when they put a jump button in. But this is an absolute game changer for how you play a Monkey Ball game, because they've introduced a boost mechanic. So you can charge your ball with a boost and unleash it in a certain direction to give you just a sudden speed boost should you need it. And it's so perfectly balanced and implemented that it opens the game up in such a brilliant way without feeling like you're just breaking the game design with a lazy jump button. And there's real technique to master with it as well, because you go as fast as long as you charge it for, and you need to wait for it to recharge before using it again. So you need to find the right balance of how much speed you need and when you may need to use it again. And it's not just a case of like just simply using a mushroom or something like that in Mario Kart. Like the precision required with the direction you boost in means that you can implement it with real skill and purpose, not just mindlessly flinging your monkey full speed into the abyss. It's a fantastic addition to the game. I really didn't think I was going to be sold on it at all, let alone be of the opinion that I want that mechanic in the original game. Like it's now become so ingrained in me that if I go back to playing Monkey Ball 1, I'll probably struggle without having it to use in my arsenal, because it's become really instinctive. For those that are finding the game a bit too hard, there are some nice accessibility features in Banana Rumble 2. You can put on helper mode. If you're struggling, then it will have a little Monkey Ball like ghost replay to follow along, and allows you to rewind should you fall off and just want to try a bit again. You can even choose just to skip a level if you're stuck on it. And nicely, this game doesn't have a live system like the original did, which takes the pressure off a bit and allows you to enjoy the levels without added frustration of feeling the failure or having to go through lives running out or a continue screen or having to start a world all over again. It's clear that this game has just been made to be fun, with the challenge there for people who want it, and that's just perfect, because when I look back at the original Monkey Ball game and how hard it was and how many times I had to try to beat the full swathe of like 50 expert levels without losing all my lives, so I didn't use a continue, which would allow me then to play 10 expert extra levels, and then I had to beat all 60 of those levels without losing a continue to unlock the master levels, and it took me, felt like months of trying. I wouldn't have the patience to do that. I don't have the time to do that. So they've really got the balance really, really well, because I do still love that challenge. but also I'm absolutely not held hostage by it. The other thing that's in the game, which also feeds into like the customizable experience you can have with it, and is also actually the detail that sold me on the game, and is that each of the levels in Banana Rumble have 3 missions to beat on each of them, which not only encourages repeat plays of the levels, but also enables you to tackle the levels in very different ways. So there's a mission that sees you needing to beat a certain time to complete the level, and it might be you're like, how on earth could I beat this level in under 10 seconds? There's no way. It takes clearly it takes like 30 seconds to get around the whole course, and then so you have to look for like a little shortcut or something. Then there's a mission that asks you to collect a certain number of bananas, and then a third mission where you have to collect a specific special golden banana, which will be in a typically hard to reach location. And I've just had a brilliant time poring over each of the levels to complete all 3 of these missions, which has massively scratched that like competitive monkey balling itch without reducing me to obsessive grinding. It gives me like a specific goal to reach, and then I can tick it off and move on. And that is just, that's wonderful. I've done all 3 missions on all of the 100 standard levels now, and I've been working my way through doing the hard levels too. But also, I'm sort of happily ignoring some of the missions that aren't proving fun to me to try and get. Like some of the banana collection missions on these harder levels where they were getting really miserable, and I was just like, you know what, I'm fine to leave a few missions unticked.
That's
and
very
move
admirable.
On.
Very admirable.
I've grown. What can I say? I've grown. But it also means that I know I've got something there when I return to the game. If I'm still playing it every night, to be honest. And at some point, I'll put it down. It'll go away for a few months. I'll get the itch again. I'll get it out, and I'll maybe tackle some of those unticked missions. But there is so much to do in the game. There's loads of other in-game achievements to try and unlock too. There's tons of stuff to unlock and cosmetics to buy. There's characters to unlock, and I literally only realised a couple of nights ago that all of the different monkeys you can play as have actually all got different stats. I just assumed, like, as it always has been, or maybe it hasn't, but certainly as it was in the original games, it was just like I always played as Baby because he was the smallest sprite and allowed me to see more of the stage through the ball, like even if it was just granular. But like it made no difference, like who you played as. But literally, like it's like Mario Kart like stats of like speed, acceleration, braking power, spin, and stuff like that. And it like I'm playing the game very, very differently now that I'm playing as different characters. But like I said, the multiplayer side of the game has remained entirely untouched. So speaking only about the single player main game experience, this has become another one of my favourite games of the year. I'm so thrilled that Sega have returned to form with this game, and it seems like all the reviews are saying that as well. So hopefully it'll be a start of a new chapter in the Monkey Ball franchise, and they'll continue in similar fine form.
Well done, Sega.